Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. Thank you for joining me on this Friday. Here in Ottawa, we're broadcasting to you live. We've got a really interesting segment today with veterinarian Dr. Jeff Wilson. He's an associate professor at the University of Guelph and is heading up some incredibly important research. And he's angry as hell over what happened a week ago at Universal Ostrich Farms. Yes, it's been a week. We'll be right back with more.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
This is going to be fascinating. And I guarantee you, tell your friends and family about this interview. It's incredible. Because the experts are coming forth. The real experts are coming forth and saying what happened at Universal Ostrich Farms to Katie, her family, is outrageous. He calls it a Gong show in this interview. He says it was just incredibly inept and incompetent. Not only the so-called culling, the massacre of these birds, which he calls inhumane, but the aftermath has been incredibly sloppy and, once again, inept and incompetently led, obviously. So without further ado, I'm going to show this interview. Stay tuned till the very end of this broadcast because we've got a treat for you. Well, it's a bittersweet treat. It's a new video, and it's a sad salute to those ostriches that were once happy and roaming the fields and that were killed unnecessarily by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. But here we go with our interview.
Thanks for having me.
And if you're tuning in to Stand on Guard this morning, my guest is veterinarian Dr. Jeff Wilson, and he's the founder of the National Poultry Network. And we're going to be learning a bit about that and his opinion about the recent massacre of hundreds of ostriches at Universal Ostrich Farms in Edgewood, BC, from his perspective as an expert, as a veterinarian. And so, Jeff, to start off, I just want, if you could fill us in on what is the National Poultry Network. I know we recently published this article in the Canadian Poultry, and very interesting. Could you just recap for the audience this morning what exactly are the objectives of the the National Poultry Network?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and with all this stuff, there's a lot of moving parts, right? So to understand the context, as part of our work, so I run a company called Novometrix Research, which is a social enterprise. We're a for-profit company, but we work to help change things in the world. And one of them has been this avian influenza situation. So a few years ago, we had already been working in a bunch of other networks. So things like the honeybee network, trying to sort out things like colony decline. And we'd worked in the antibiotic resistance network and so on. And we were getting some good traction on this. We had developed a process called community network integration, or CNI, which basically brings networks together to solve wicked problems. So I've worked a lot in the poultry network. One of my doctorates is in poultry pathology. Our company has worked extensively in the poultry industry globally over the years. And so I could see there were a bunch of issues in the poultry industry in Canada and globally that needed fixing. The fundamental problem in all of these wicked problems is, it doesn't matter whether it's homelessness rather, or avian influenza or what have you. We live in a world which is highly siloed. So people don't talk to each other. They don't they don't collaborate well together across networks. And as a result, it's very hard to get solutions going because we're now dealing with complex problems. In public health, people say the easy problems have been solved. So we chlorinated the water, right? Stuff like that. But now these are highly complex problems that involve all sorts of stakeholders and so on. So I started talking to my colleagues in the poultry network, and they said, yeah, this is a good idea to start bringing all these pieces together. And so we started a network of stakeholders across Canada, people, some poultry farmers, some people in the supply industry like pharma, some members of the public. I actually had and still do have a lady who's senior within CFIA, and we created a thing called the National Poultry Network, which to my knowledge is the first poultry enterprise in Canada to begin to bring all these different parts together. So that's what it is. And pretty soon, excuse me, once you start doing this and you have a good process, you start getting more people interested. You start creating a data framework. So we started to talk to people in the industry about what was happening with avian influenza. Then we did a comprehensive review of all the literature related to this, and we discovered that that the response to avian influenza in Canada, and this will be no surprise to your listeners, is utterly chaotic. And so now with that network is expanding out, and there are many, many projects happening now, and the ostrich situation has been one of the intersection points. I don't know if that's helps David or not, but
absolutely, Jeff. That's video here as we focus on the massacre, the killing, the culling, as the CFIA wanted to term it, at the ostrich farm. This video footage still shocks people. So, of course, I think that prompts a number of questions, but my first one, so this is a week ago, literally a week ago. This is how Katie Pasitne and the family woke up Friday morning. They saw this horror scene in the ostrich pen. And as we learned afterwards, some of the birds weren't quite dead. They were twitching, and they had to finish them off. But was this shooting, and apparently they expended over 1,000 or at least 1,000 rounds into perhaps 300 ostriches. We never really found out how many were left. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency refuses to be specific about numbers, just as it refused to test or allow anybody to count the birds, even count the birds. But was the shooting of these ostriches multiple times a humane way of killing them?
Well, so no, and it makes no sense whatsoever. I've personally, it's not like I haven't been involved in killing animals, humanely euthanizing animals. I'm a veterinarian, right? So I've been on farms I was a small animal vet when I started. I had to euthanize lots of dogs and cats. I've been involved in research studies where we had to euthanize lots of chickens, but this is utterly incoherent. This is not how you euthanize animals. I'm like a lot of people. I can't. It's so outrageous. I can't even still believe that anything so incompetent would happen. But anyway.
Well, it's interesting too. The aftermath has been just as controversial as the occupation of the farm and the killing of the ostriches a week ago. And a little bit of this video here, because this
How's that technique anyway?
You look like you're doing all right. I'm not sure about the whole virus side of things. The whole virus side of things. You brought it straight out of the hot zone. The so-called hot zone.
No, this is the hay that was behind it. Trust me, I asked.
So why are those hay bales all knocked over at the back there?
I'm not sure when Yeah, these rookies still doing that. Is that good? Might need to come back down here.
Okay, that's the scene I wanted to capture, because here's the RCMP using a pitchfork to spread this hay that's been contaminated with bird debris, bird blood. They're not even wearing gloves. They're bare hands. There's no PPE. There's certainly no hazmat suits. And a couple of minutes later in this video, there's two bystanders watching this. I think one of them might be the one filming it, actually. And the RCMP joke about, "Hey, you dudes want a hazmat suit?" So they're absolutely not taking this seriously. They never wore any protective gear throughout the whole operation. The CFIA spent about 48 hours without hazmat suits when they first arrived, and it's almost like they remembered, whoops, forgot the costumes. We've got to make this look good. But is this the way that this site was so-called cleaned up with the RCMP spreading hay all over the place with pitchforks? And they literally dumped this hay all over the farm just to add insult to injury, to almost intentionally contaminate the property. But is this the usual way that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency completes what they would call a biocontainment operation? Or is this unique?
So there's kind of two parts to that. Like, is this proper practice, and is this what CFI normally does? So I know it's absolutely not proper practice. I suspect it's not what CFIA does in commercial poultry farms. I mean, I haven't seen one of those operations, but it's certainly not. It certainly has nothing to do with biocontainment. So give me a sec here. I have to recover. Even if you believe that these birds were shedding avian influenza in any significant amount, which I'm sure the evidence strongly suspects they're not, because almost certainly they had herd immunity, right? But even if they did have this, it makes no sense whatsoever to be doing this as a avian influenza biocontainment response. If you accept what is probably going on, i.e. that they were not shedding virus, there are all sorts of other poultry, and ostrich pathogens around other than avian influenza, which these birds might be shedding, and virtually all poultry and birds shed normally zoonotic pathogens, that is, bacteria and so on that can infect people. like they're loaded with salmonella and campylobacter and just normally, right? That's why you don't eat raw chicken. So by any measure, no, I don't think it's anything other than utter incompetence or like you're suggesting, and I can't prove it, but deliberately trying to provoke, who knows? But it's definitely not competent in the extreme, especially in this situation.
Well, clearly the CFIA and the RCMP did not believe that these birds had avian influenza, or they would not have been working in this manner. So they can't have it both ways. Either the birds had avian influenza and this was a utterly incompetent, sloppy exercise, or the birds did not have avian influenza, and this proves it. Again, but as you said, avian influenza aside, I don't think you want to be working with animal parts like this, spreading blood and debris around the farm, handling it literally with bare hands, with a pitchfork. This is not a safe practice. So, I mean, we would have to term this as sloppy and unsafe, wouldn't we?
And particularly it's one thing if you're working on a farm and you're regularly exposed to things like salmonella and campylobacter. Arguably, you have, you will have built up likely a high degree of immunity, but not likely police officers. It doesn't. I'm sorry for laughing, David. I've been told not to laugh, but it's partly laugh or cry, and partly it's I think it helps to let people know, no, this is the Gong show is what you're watching. And many people in public health have said it's a Gong show. So anyway, I apologize.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Either you laugh or you cry. I woke up last Friday morning and I did cry.
Sometimes I cry. I do.
Because it was utterly tragic.
Yeah.
And watching these majestic birds
definitely
run around that field, twirling, obviously healthy and happy. This was completely sadistic, completely unnecessary.
Totally.
And it is tragic, and it's brought a lot of us to tears to see how this organization is off the rails and is running rogue.
Yep.
But you have been a critic of the stamping out policy, which I found out goes back quite a few years in Canada. Actually goes back to the Harper years when he was prime minister, and it's never really been challenged. And the talking points you get from the CFIA are, well, we're just following the guidelines and rules of the World Health Organization and the World Organization for Animal Health. However, when you actually look that up, and these are not organizations I'm usually very sympathetic towards. I don't really like globalist entities making policy in Canada, which is, of course, what they do. But even the World Organization for Animal Health is saying, no, stamping out is not a rational policy. Try quarantine. And if the animals develop the herd immunity, then stamping out is not necessary. It's like the CFIA is stuck in a time warp.
Totally.
Where this was a conceivably viable policy, I guess, at one time. But clearly it's not anymore. We've lost tens of millions of chickens in Canada, as I know you are aware. It's driving up the price of poultry, the price of eggs. These ostriches were not being used for food. They were not being exported to the United States or anywhere else.
No.
But yet we continue this insane policy until every last bird will be dead in Canada based on the fact that, well, they might contract avian influenza. And we can't have that. Might as well kill them all. So that won't happen. Even though that's the natural process of animals developing immunity without mass vaccination programs and without mass culling programs that are literally exterminating every last domesticated bird in Canada. And they'll start on the wild ones next, of course. And Canada geese are on the chopping block as well. But why is stamping out such an irrational policy at this point?
Well, so and it's another one of these things with some moving parts. So actually, there are, like you've alluded to, David, there are definitely situations in which so-called stamping out, that is proper testing and slaughter under a proper outbreak response system, using what we call the pillars of outbreak response, which we can talk about if you want. There are definitely contexts, and so that makes sense. So it's now quite a few years ago, but in Canada, we did have, for example, in cattle, bovine tuberculosis and brucellosis, both zoonotic infections, which are very bad human infections. And at that time, I believe it would have been Ag Canada. It was before CFIA would have even been conceived. Canada and the US and the UK and other countries, recognizing this as a problem, realized that they had to do something about it. And in that context, they went in and they depopulated entire herds of cattle in Canada. But it was different because the bacteria involved were ones which were not circulating en masse in wild populations. That was one of the big things. So if you have a bug that's in wild populations and is a source to animals, stamping out on, all things being equal, just doesn't make sense. You can't control it. And that's what's happened with avian influenza. It's, of course, in wild populations, you kill a whole, sorry for the, being graphic, but you euthanize barn after barn on millions of chickens. Well, it deals with those, but then the next ones just get reinfected by a Canada goose droppings or a sparrow or whatever it happens to be. So it makes no biological sense. And not only that, as people have said, we're now apparently in our 11th year of doing this stamping out for avian influenza. It's clearly not working. Just, look at the evidence, and there's no biological reason to think it would work. And so it's another part of the incoherence of CFIA. Unfortunately, with CFIA literally built into their mandate, they have no mandate to do outbreak response for anything, as universally understood. They have a mandate to test what they want, kill what they want, and compensate what they want. And none of it is coherent. None of it's coherent. They literally don't have a mandate to come in and figure out what's actually causing a given outbreak and what to do about it. Every single outbreak, as they define it by their choice, every one of them is a nail, and they got one hammer stamping out, as I see it. I've talked with the chief veterinarian for Canada and the deputy chief veterinarian for Canada. I've talked with Howard New, who's the acting chief public health officer for Canada. It's utterly incoherent. And they're kind of looking for a lifeline, but they have no idea what to do, despite the fact that we've told them what to do. Anyway, sorry for... Hopefully your listeners can understand why I'm laughing. It's so
theater.
insane.
It's theater of the absurd. And had it not had such a tragic ending,
totally,
I think we would be laughing, because this was, as you said, a Gong show.
It's a Gong show.
These CFIA agents or inspectors, whatever you want to call them,
did
not seem to have any cognizance of animal health or welfare when they were challenged by other people on the farm, including one veterinarian was allowed access that was a friend of Katie and her family.
Yeah.
And he challenged them on a number of issues, and they did not seem to have the vaguest idea of what veterinary health, animal health, and what they were doing there, except waiting to kill them.
Yeah.
And at the time, of course, they were literally chasing the ostriches around with lassos. We have video evidence of that. They were harassing them. They were at times punching and kicking at the ostriches. they were exercising incredibly raw animal cruelty, and they got away with it. Not a single word from the RCMP. No charges have been laid, and I don't believe any charges will be laid. And this has been absolutely outrageous. And it's the aftermath, of course. It was all about the CFIA ensuring that no tissue samples were taken, because the CFIA pulled up stakes yesterday, actually, with the RCMP and the CFIA left the farm. It's still quarantined. It looks like a disaster area,
Exactly.
which, of course, is exactly what it is.
Totally.
But the CFIA is claiming yesterday in an article I read in I think it was Cast the Net, which is a Western Canadian publication, and they actually said that everybody went through sterilization when they left the farm every day. Absolute nonsense, because all of the bystanders said there was nothing like that going on. But then they had the nerve to say that all of the ostriches have been disposed of, and they're in what they call deep burial. Sorry, when did that happen? Because we have people right now at the Surrey Super Save who say these ostriches are still there in the parking lot. So do you think they've actually disposed of these birds or not?
Well, again, so I can't know for sure. And my thing is one, in my role, right, as a scientist, and also as someone now leading proper outbreak response, things I say, I have to base them on evidence, right? So I have definitely heard this secondhand, right? So I don't know. I've heard it multiple times. I think to get to the bottom of this and find out where these birds are now, and document that if possible, and if legal, get samples of those birds. What they should happen with those birds at this point now is they should be subjected to a forensic autopsy, right? So they should be properly autopsied, and although they've been decomposing, there are still tests that could be done that would help to clarify whether they were shedding virus or not. It's not nearly as good as being fresh, but it's still possible. So if there's a way to do that, that would be good. Actually, that would be good. Certainly makes absolutely no sense sitting rotting in a dumpster in a strip mall parking lot. I mean, what about homeless people or anybody reaching in and grabbing them and touching them? They're almost certainly loaded with salmonella and campylobacter at the very least. If the CFIA wanted to create a public health crisis, they've certainly done that. If this is in fact true, and we're hearing numerous reports about this, I'd be very interested.
Certainly this is not a very healthy situation. Yesterday I was talking to somebody close to the operation, and they said that there are rats and mice running around. Obviously, this sort of thing that does attract these kind of rodents, and it's just completely pervasively unhealthy, everything about this.
Well, it's morbid. It's beyond incompetence. It's morbid, right? It's just egregious to do this kind of thing. There's no excuse for this in any context, especially people getting millions of dollars from the federal government to run this kind of stuff. So well,
of course, that was another aspect to this operation that people found absolutely astounding. Mutual friend, former Ag Minister Jerry Ritz, was on my show a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed this. And I said, Jerry, what do you estimate this is costing every day? And he said, well, at least $100,000. He might have been conservative in his estimate, but this was a hugely expensive unnecessary occupation of this farm. And I think they've done everything that they possibly could to ruin the farm and the livelihood of these farmers, which is why I'm encouraging them to do whatever they need to do to recoup their losses and to fundraise at this crucial time. This should not have happened to them.
Well, and I think part of this speaks to the incompetence and I think the overreach and really just power grab, right? And what it's like, power corrupts, right? And I think that's pretty clear what's happening. And I think CFIA, it's been a long time in the making. They got away with it with the commercial poultry industry. The commercial poultry industry is much easier to control by CFIA and federal government and self-control. I know lots of people in the commercial poultry industry. I love the poultry industry. I know it sounds weird, but I've worked in it for years. But they're controlled because CFIA holds a lot of power over the industry and can cause serious grief. The duck and geese industry in BC, they went through the same kind of depopulation stuff and had lawsuits against CFIA or sorry, I think like the ostrich farm, they stood up against, but they lost. But I have a feeling when they took on Katie and Karen and Dave, they took on something they don't know what they've got here. I don't see how CFIA can survive this personally, but they're not going down without a fight.
That's interesting because Katie, of course, is vowing to continue to fight the CFIA's methods and the CFIA's as an organization, and to do whatever she can to help other farmers. And she's calling this a voice for farmers. And
yeah,
I've been
I
talking.
don't think. Well, and sorry, Dave, I was going to say. So we did a detailed analysis of what CFIA has done by interviewing stakeholders under a formal, academic process and a literature review. I can tell you what CFIA is doing. This incompetence and lack of understanding of outbreak response, and actually not even having a mandate to do outbreak response, and stamping out in the absence of proper outbreak response. It's not just chickens. It's all animal species in Canada that they're dealing with. It's all plant species in Canada. It's all of their antimicrobial resistance programs, which speaks directly to human health. So it's broken. If CFIA would simply, if senior management, it's not the operational people, it's senior management. If senior management would simply come to the table, and we've asked them, and start discussing how can we do this better, this could all be resolved honestly if they understood what was going on and were willing to act in good faith. We could resolve this at a high level in about an hour and then put in place the proper systems. But they just refuse to listen.
Yeah, that is so indicative of this arrogance in this organization, because they refuse to be questioned. I sent them literally 13 questions a couple of days before the massacre occurred on the farm. And they sent me their latest news release. They did not even bother to answer a single question. I have had no luck at all contacting their FLAC, as we say in the business, their public relations person. Nobody wants to answer the phone. Nobody wants to talk to reporters. Certainly, if you're not in the pocket of the CFIA, they don't want to talk to you. And this has been the arrogance of this organization. And I think this is what has really infuriated Katie and her family, is that they would not even talk to them during this whole procedure. They had to deal with this, with the police liaison officer, or send emails to the Ottawa headquarters, which of course they never even responded to. And it was just like, we're here and we're going to stay and we're going to do our killing, whether you like it or not, or no matter how Canadians feel about this. But from what you're saying, sounds like you're optimistic that this could be the beginning of the end of this CFIA, as it is anyway, and that we might see something rebuilt, or at least some reforms coming through. I mean, they can't possibly walk away from this. I don't think so. It sounds like you don't think so either.
I don't think so. Like, I don't have a crystal ball, right? But I don't think CFIA can survive this. And particularly as the public starts to see what's going on, and as the public starts to see credentialed scientists and others, economists and everybody else coming forward and showing the evidence of what's going on, I don't think they can survive. And I think, like, when I was talking to Jerry Ritz, he said if he had been, and I don't have a particular political leaning to the Conservatives, just so you know. I found them very, very helpful in all of this avian influenza stuff. But his feeling was if this had happened when he was minister, he would just brought in the head of CFIA and say, stop this or you're fired. And I know when I was working with the Public Health Agency, that's what happened to me if I had done something on the human health side like this. So I don't think they can survive. And I can tell you also, people in the poultry industry now, in the commercial poultry, they're starting to step forward. And there's some in particular. I can tell you that the industry, the poultry industry in BC, although they naturally, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, right? And so if they're listening, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what they've been doing is now putting in proper outbreak response under what we call the pillars of outbreak response. So one of the things they've done is part of the proper way to deal with this, and it's a matrix of things, right? It's not just one thing. It's not just one vaccine or one stamping out. It's a whole matrix of things that have to be done, and a lot of them have to be worked through. But one of them is better biosecurity, and our group has been working on this as well. A really intelligent way to be looking at this is using ultraviolet light within poultry barns to disinfect air and surfaces. Well, the BC government gave the poultry industry $2 million to begin researching putting ultraviolet light into poultry barns in BC. I connected with them because part of our thing is connecting people together. So we're doing similar stuff here in Ontario. I connected to them. They're very interested in working with us. They said, "Oh, the lead of this is the BC government. You should talk to the chief veterinarian for BC. She's leading this." Well, so at the provincial level, and that's also what we've seen in Ontario, at the provincial level, what we're doing is, bringing people together and proper outbreak response has been very much embraced by the provincial government. In fact, the lady who's one of the key people in OMAFRA, that's the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, she's on our leadership team and helping. We're collaborating to get this UV light stuff into Ontario barns. That article that you showed from Canadian Poultry Magazine, the provincial government published essentially, a formal version of that in their official animal health newsletter for Ontario. So at the provincial level, we're seeing people doing the right thing. It's just at the federal level, and it's at the senior management level federally. I don't even. I mean, I know lots of people. I know some people in OMAF, in CFIA. I don't know a lot of them, but I've talked to some of them, and I've watched what's going on. I think this is a clear thing of when it all starts at the top. If you've got people who are incompetent at the top, it goes right through the whole organization. Fix that. You can, there may be some people who are deranged who actually like shooting ostriches. They're probably not the people you want euthanizing animals. So with the proper leadership at the top, of course, you'd do a full human resources audit, right? And a intervention audit, and then you would fix the systems. So I honestly don't think it's that hard. And I think it's really important for listeners to this kind of program to realize that's likely where we want to go. We want to bring all the people together of Canada, including people working in CFIA who know what's going on, bring them together, start creating alternatives that work. And I can talk about that, like what they're doing in BC. And that will show people, no, we're not just about pointing fingers. We're not just about saying, hey, this won't work. We're saying, here's what will work, and we're doing it. Be part of it, and then show people a system that works. I think that's the solution. That's what this. I sent you that thing last night about the Canadian Outbreak Response Integrative Network. That's what that is doing. Corin.
Yes, and that paper in your abstract will be in the description so people can access it.
Yeah,
I know you're also an adjunct or an associate professor at the University of Guelph, and you're doing some tremendous academic work there. Excuse me.
Trying my best.
Want to thank you for your time. I know you're going to be spending it with your family today. Yeah. Have a wonderful day, Dr. Wilson, and thank you for joining me. And I'm sure we'll be in touch again. This has been an incredible and a very invaluable interview, and I thank you for your time today. And Godspeed. And we'll talk again.
Thank you, David, and your listeners. Like this, it's all about actually organizing coherently now. Like we go through a period of grieving and anger, and then we organize nationally, not with the objective of getting rid of CFIA, but of primarily it's building a proper system, and then CFIA, they'll simply dissolve as people start to see what's going on. Anyway, I appreciate your time, David. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wilson. And we'll, as I say, bye for now, and we will stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye. And that, of course, was Dr. Wilson, veterinarian, fantastic. Jeff Wilson, a fantastic interview. I really, really enjoyed that. I'm sure a lot of you did too. And just in case you're wondering, this is what he's been working on. Some complaints and evidence about CFIA and RCMP and Super Safe Biosecurity Labs to this department. And this will be in the description as well, because we need to report what's going on here. And there's a growing evidence that this has been not just incompetent, but sinister. And we're going to be continuing to push back on the CFIA. Now, I promised you that video at the very end here. But first, the RCMP, just like CSIS has been bothering people, and this is a better way. This is the Dr. Jeff Wilson's work here, and this will be in the description. This is what we're talking about. He's proposing sanity. And as he pointed out several times, the CFIA is just going to disappear. It cannot survive what's been happening here. It cannot survive. So, encourage you to read this. But this is an incredible bit of tape here. You might remember we had Blake Roberts on the show. He's a real estate guy in Kelowna who did a heck of a lot of good work for the Freedom Convoy 2.0 for the Universal Ostrich Farms during the last 8 months. He was always there, did a lot of footwork, and he's being harassed. He just got back from a trip to Mexico, and some people suggested he was fleeing the country. No, it was a scheduled trip he was going to take, a vacation. And he's back now. And look what he came back to.
Not a problem at all. Yeah, Blake, I was trying to clarify the information I gave you, so I'm happy to do that once you get the thing recorded.
Okay, I've got it recorded. Can you identify yourself, sir, first? Sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I just want to let everybody know that's hearing this.
Okay,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Constable Dunhill with the Kelowna RCMP, and I'm following up on a CIS file from Saskatchewan Police.
Thank you.
Of course.
And what have I been accused of, sir?
So you, Blake, were named as one of a group of individuals that were making online posts your specific post that was relayed in a message to me was that there was some information relating to a specific officer whose name, phone number, email address, and business address were shared with the note to make the SOB famous. That's the information that was provided to Culling RCMP that was posted from your Facebook account. Is the information I was given.
Okay, well, 5 minutes ago, that's not what you said.
No. 5 minutes ago, what I said was there was information from the group of people that were making specific posts, and I was explaining what those posts were. I didn't get a chance to tell you what your specific account said because you said you didn't want to continue the conversation until you could record.
You told me once. No, you told me that I was accused of something. Can you just repeat what you said?
I said you were accused of online activity, right? Online activity was what I specifically said you were accused for, that had been presented to us. The specific things that I said earlier were in relation to other individuals. You didn't give me a chance to tell you what was actually posted from your account, which is what I've just clarified now.
That's not what you said, sir. You said I was accused of something, so I said I've got to stop the conversation.
Okay, so Blake, ultimately, I'm not going to dispute what you heard and what I said on our previous call. Ultimately, what I just told you and what you are now recording is exactly the information that has been delivered to me and what I was following up on. So ultimately, if your Facebook account was used to share information relating to a CFIA officer, that is something that you shouldn't be doing, and that would be why Saskatoon contacted us and asked us to caution you about that type of behavior moving forward. Because if that type of behavior continues, that can lead to criminal charges. Now, this is not coming from the Culling RCMP. We are just relaying the request to you because ultimately you are a resident of Kelowna, which is why the request came to us. They didn't know, and I definitely didn't know because I went to your house earlier, that you were literally out of country at the time.
I noticed from my doorbell camera, 2 RCMP officers, 2 cruisers came to my house.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, myself and a partner went to the address before I texted you. Yes, exactly.
2 cruisers.
Yeah, separate cruisers. That's right. Yeah.
But just again, what did you say somebody was? Okay, if you're not saying that I was accused of, what you said something on the first phone call that somebody was accused of then.
Yeah. So there was online activity related to the same CFIA officer that had presented threats directly to his family members, to his home, and ultimately trying to essentially coordinate locals to assist with those activities.
What exactly did you say? Can I ask that again?
Well, again, ultimately, Blake, those comments were made by your account. So I'm not going to specifically state that again. I was trying to provide you context for the call, but now that we're specifically talking, especially on the record with your recording, and I'm having conversation with you about what was posted on your account that's been relayed to us. That is what I'm going to disclose.
Well, you said to me 10 minutes ago, you referred to online threats of gang raping somebody's wife. Let's be clear. That is what you said to me. Would you agree that is what you said?
Yep.
Is that what you did say?
Yeah, you can hear me.
Sorry? Is that what you said? Is that what you said in the phone call, that there was threats made by somebody to gang rape somebody's wife?
That is information that was presented to you before, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but that information was not presented that it came from your direct account. It was in relation to a group of individuals making online posts. Your specific one, like I said, I didn't have a chance to actually tell you what it was because you said you wanted to conclude the call to make sure that it could be audio recorded.
Okay, and again, what was my specific again? Can you just repeat that? Sorry. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I know you're used to your job, but
yeah, of course. No, it's okay. It's okay, Blake. So the information that was presented in the message directly from Saskatchewan or Saskatoon Police Service was that your Facebook account shared an individual's name, their phone number, email address, and business address with a note to make the SOB famous. That's the information that I was given that was sent by your specific Facebook account. Now, can you confirm that that was sent by your account?
Something similar to that might have happened, but it was a business account, not a home address, or excuse me, a business address, not a home address. CFIA offices are, I assumed, public. I would never share somebody's home address.
Okay.
We're picketing CFIA offices all over the place. His business cell number, I would assume, is business. So I guess if I'm going to be charged with that, I don't know.
No, as I mentioned on the call earlier before, Blake, I'm calling you just to caution you on the behavior. There has been no information presented to me that charges are being investigated this time. Ultimately, I'm just here to relay the information. Okay. There is no information was given to me that there is currently charges being investigated. The expectation was that you would be warned about the behavior, and that ultimately, if there was future behavior that continued along that vein, there could be a risk of criminal charges. But nothing so far has been notified by us or notified to us.
Okay. I have been very vocal on Facebook with officers while I was at the farm. I'm just going to say something, and it's not meant as a personal attack on you, officer. As a citizen who has always put trust in our national police force, I have to say how utterly disappointed I am that the national police force was there. The fact that our citizens were essentially, in my opinion, attacked by our national police force, that I no longer consider the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I consider the Government of Canada Mounted Police. I don't trust the agency. Nothing against you, sir, again. I want to stress that. I know you guys are in a tough spot, and I think your hierarchy has put you in a horrible spot where people like me that are normally law-abiding citizens no longer trust our police force. So I don't envy the position you're in. So thanks for listening there. Nothing personal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Blake. Yes, absolutely. Well, Blake, I've relayed the information that I believe that you need at this point. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I don't. Thank you.
So what was all that about? Well, intimidation, harassment, threats. He wasn't charged with anything. You really think Blake Roberts would be putting out what they described? And I hesitate to repeat it because it's nonsense. Blake was very critical of the RCMP and the CFIA. But they're so ready to accuse people of doxing, accuse people of harassment, when that's what they're doing. So Blake, I wanted to just play that whole thing because I think it's important people hear it, because it's going to be a lot of this going through social media in the next few days. I saved the best for last. This is our sad salute to those once happy ostriches that ran and played and twirled on the fields of Universal Ostrich Farms. And this is my happy salute, if I can even say it that way, to Katie, Karen, and Dave for their courageous work in pushing back against government overreach, government tyranny. They did a damn good job. They gave everything. This is why we're gonna support them, and we need to give everything now.
Oh, the sun came up on a quiet day, where the wind used to dance through 100 gentle hands. Our ostriches walking in the early daylight, a family just trying to live life right. When the cops rolled in like a storm out east, no care in their voices, no mercy in their reach. Canada was lost when the first shot rang, a day this country we won't forget again. We stood there shaking, couldn't believe our ears, stolen by cowards, fear, and our angels fell down, and all that's left are feathers and blood on the ground. We beg those men, please, this ain't right. But mercy wasn't something they had that night. Their badges shine, but their hearts were dull. Trust died in Canada from the cold, and the family cried out with hands on the fence, watching dreams fall to violence. Hundreds of souls who never caused harm, laying still now on that quiet farm. The hurt runs deeper than the blood in the dust. How do we heal when there's no more trust? And our angels fell like tears on the ground. Every feather fell, made a thunderous sound. A nation washed wild, the law looked away. The ones sworn to protect us lost their way. Upside down, and all that's left are feathers and blood on the ground. But this land is stronger than the ones who did wrong, and we will rise and remain strong, because our country's worth saving. It starts with us now, saying never again. We will never bow. Yeah, the feathers fell, but justice will rise. Let the truth burn bright in our children's eyes. No more silence when the cruel comes. We'll stand together and bang our drums. A family broken, but a new hope found. We honor forever every feather on the ground.
Fight for every farmer out there, because under our watch we will never, ever let another farmer go through this.
And that's Katie's mission right now. And she'll be on the show on Monday to talk about her new mission, which is a voice for farmers. She's going to be fighting the CFIA and supporting farmers everywhere in this country. And that's where Katie is going from here. And I am 100% with her and behind her. And that song, that video, is dedicated to Katie, her mom Karen, and Dave Belinsky, who fought the good fight. And once again, send complaints and evidence. And we'll have this in the description. Don't stop. Don't be cowed. Don't let injustice and tyranny triumph. Because all that's necessary for that to happen is for good men and women to do nothing. And we vow to do much. Thank you for watching today. I had difficulty holding back tears watching. I shed a few this morning when I first saw it all together. Those are very, very poignant moments. And thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'm putting a Substack together based on this interview that will be out later today. And of course, doing a spot with Rebel News at 1 o'clock. I don't think that's live. I'm not sure when that's going to be aired, but I'll let you know. And thank you for your support. Thank you for watching this show. Thank you for being there during all of this. And we'll be continuing to fight back. Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I'm going to keep this station on the air. I am going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth. And I am damn determined to resist this carny government in any way possible as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. I'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 10 a.m. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.